So it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you today the Representative Keith M. Ellison. Our U.S. Representative Keith Ellison represents Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, which includes the city of Minneapolis and surrounding suburbs, and is one of the most vibrant and ethnically diverse districts in Minnesota. Representative Ellison's guiding philosophy is based on generosity and inclusion, and his priorities in Congress are building prosperity for working families, promoting peace, pursuing environmental sustainability, and advancing civil and human rights. As a member of the House Financial Services Committee, the congressman helps oversee the nation's financial services and housing industries, as well as Wall Street. He also serves on the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee, which decides committee assignments for Democratic members and sets the Democratic caucus's policy agenda. Before being elected to Congress, Representative Ellison was a noted community activist and ran a thriving civil rights, employment, and criminal defense law practice in Minneapolis. He was also elected to serve 2 terms in the Minnesota State House of Representatives. Representative Ellison was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. He has lived in Minnesota since earning his law degree from the University of Minnesota Law School in 1990. He is the proud father of 4 children. Please join me in welcoming Representative Keith Ellison.
Peace be unto you. Salaam alaikum. Shalom. What an honor to be amongst you. It's really a rare opportunity for me, and I plan on taking full advantage of it tonight. I want to thank the lovely and very kind introduction. I want to thank Hartford Seminary President Heidi Hasdell and Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Van McMurtry. And I also want to give a very warm thanks to my friend and brother Khalil Abdullah, who is studying with you and amongst you, and God willing will be graduating with you pretty soon. Is that right, Khalil? And it really is a pleasure, and your invitation is very, very, very warmly received. I also want to congratulate all of our graduates and congratulate you on your fine achievements. And I want to thank your families who have stuck with you, and I know that you know that we all rely on them to take care of things. And you know, when you get a degree at Hartford Seminary, you know, it's not like graduating from high school or even college. I mean, you're into your life at this point, right? And many of you may have major life commitments like marriages or children or something like that as you're pursuing your degree, and people have stood up and stepped up for you, and I know that this time you want to thank them too. Am I right about that? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, somewhere in this country today, there is a couple, and they might be Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever, and they are, if they're average working Americans, they haven't seen a raise in like a long time. They may have student debt that they're carrying. They might have a chance to get health care that they've never had before, but there's a whole bunch of governors who are trying to, and members of Congress who are to make sure that they don't keep it. And they're wondering, are we going to be able to pay our rent or our mortgage? They're wondering, what's going to happen with our children? Will they be able to do better than we did? And they're wondering, they're concerned about their retirement. Like, we all hope to make it to old age, but we don't want to be struggling. We want to be living the so-called golden years. Now, this couple is going to turn to their faith in all likelihood. And this couple is going to think about their faith life, and they're going to look to you to help them understand this very complicated, fast-moving world. I think it was said in the very beginning of our proceedings today that you look in the news and there's something to be depressed about. Let me tell you something. You might feel down, but if you are the pastor or the chaplain, you can't afford to show it. People are counting on you to send them to a scripture to give them something to carry on. And even many of you, I know, may be graduating. You're not going to be leaders of congregations, but you well may be thinkers and writers. And the pastors are going to read your stuff to figure out what to tell the people. Right? So nobody is out of this, right? Nobody can say, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that couple. No, we all have to be concerned about that couple. Now, I think you really can only tell them one or two things. You could tell them, God loves you. People like you, us. I don't know about the rest of them people, because they're not of us. Or you could tell them, God loves you. And God expects you to love your neighbor. And it doesn't matter what color your neighbor is, or whether they pray on Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday. God expects you to be there for your neighbor. You know, we live in a world where we are told constantly that there's just not enough. We are given the myth of scarcity all the time. That there's just not enough. There's not enough money, so we cannot possibly afford to make sure our senior citizens retire in comfort. We've got to cut Social Security. Oh, there's not enough, so our students, they just got to pay $40,000 a year in loans because there's not enough to educate our young people. Oh, there's not enough, you got to make $7.25 an hour while the CEO is making $9,000 an hour. Sorry, there's not enough. But you know, there is enough. There's enough, man. And the people, that couple needs you to tell them that there is enough. There's not enough if some people make $9,000 an hour and others make $7 an hour. And the people making $7 an hour are the ones who fry the chicken and sweep the floor. And the people with the $9,000, let me tell you, if they don't come to work for a few days, the company will be okay. But the people who fry the chicken, if they don't show up, he ain't selling no chicken. And the people are not just units of production. They are souls. They are spirits. They're not just units of production. They have an aspiration. They're made in the image of God.
Preach. Come on, preach it.
Well, you know, I know you guys are the experts when it comes to scriptural interpretation. So for a person like me to step out on it is definitely running a risk. But let me just tell you this. I feel comfortable talking about it because my mother told me this story. I am a Muslim and I converted to Islam, but back when I was going to Catholic school, they told us this story. But Jesus, we call him Isa, he's a prophet in our faith, and the Muslims refer to Jesus as Messiah. Many of you may not know that, but it's true. And of course, we know Jesus comes from a Jewish sect, and so we kind of cover all the bases right there. And there is a story in the Injil, which is the Muslim word for the gospel. How many of y'all knew that who are not Muslim? Right? See, there you go. And the story goes a little something like this. Jesus was teaching to the multitudes. And the multitudes were gathered and were listening to him teach. And it got along around dinner time. And, you know, Jesus was always having banquets and feeding people. Right?
Right.
And so, quite naturally, he turns to his helpers and says, what do we got, guys? Now, you guys have done the hermeneutics and the exegesis and all that. I figure he just said, what do we got, guys? And he said, well, you know, all we got, man, is a couple of fish and 5 loaves of bread. That's all we got. And you can imagine, if you would allow yourself to imagine kind of what the disciples were thinking. They're thinking, man, them people got to go home. Enough preaching today, Jesus. Dinner time. See you guys later. Time to wrap it up. But instead, Jesus just starts passing out the food. That's what happens, right? This is a seminary, right? That's what happens, right? And what the story, the writer says that there was not just enough, there was actually more than enough, and they had to clean up the leavings. Now, here's where I'm getting in trouble with you people. Was it just a magic trick to prove what he could do? Some people might say, yeah, it's just evidence that he's, who he said he was. Maybe it's true. Maybe what happened is that the people said, man, that's just 2 fish and some barley loaves. Let's go back to the village and bring some food. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying, imagine that is the miracle, the generosity. Or maybe what the disciples perceived as just a little bit of food was actually abundance. What they perceived as not enough was plenty enough. Imagine that. Whatever actually occurred, we thought there was a little, but there was a lot. Right? And what if in the world we live in today, there's actually a lot? What if there's a lot? What if there's enough to feed everybody? What if nobody has to be hungry in the richest country in the history of the world? Our country. What if America, here's one for you. Do you know that our nation, the United States of America, has never been richer than it is right at this very moment? You wouldn't think so? Oh, we're broke. We can't afford anything. We can't take care of grandma. We can't take care of Junior. We can't take care of the little kids. We got to cut. We can't even afford Meals on Wheels. Oh, but yeah, let's have a tax cut for the richest dead people in the country, right? We want to cut the estate tax. The estate tax doesn't even cover the top 1%. It's the top 2/10 of the 1% who even have to pay it. And they still want to cut it. What if there is abundance? What if there's radical abundance if we only had a spirit of generosity? If that couple were only told in that congregation that there's enough for us all. You know, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, we say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Muslims know what that means. Peace and blessings be upon him. He was born very poor. His father died before he was born. His mother took him to a woman in the Arabian desert to nurse him because that was the tradition of the day. But the woman who she was going to pay to wet nurse her son was visibly small in the breast, and there was doubt whether she could handle the job. The Muslims know what I'm talking about. Am I on? They know. They know. Okay. My point is, in every tradition, the orphan, the widow, the poor have to be blessed in the eyes of the believer. And if they're not, we're offending the divine. But we live in a world where it's a real struggle to push that message through. Who will convey the message that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me? I've come to preach good news to the who? To the poor. To the poor. It does not say poor in spirit. it says people without no money poor. And now we live in a society and we live in a world, 2 billion people live on less than $1 a day. This is intolerable to us. We cannot allow it. And nobody who professes to be a person of faith should feel comfortable while it's going on. You know, I just want to say that you may think, well, how do we change it? In my opinion, you really do have the answer, but because before anything happens, you have got to believe that something good can happen. Before anything happens, you've got to believe something good can happen. And you've got to get out of your narrow confines thinking that we have the answer. Those people do not. They're not like us. If Hartford Seminary proves one thing, it is that, you know, there's one God out there. And that we may see this divine in many different ways, and that's okay. That's really okay. Because you all are proving that it's okay. But we have got to get moving. And what I want to say to you is that I think that what you supply to the equation is the faith. And the faith, the iman, the faith, is that thing that evidence and proof and odds just don't touch. Often reporters will ask me as a politician, well, what are the odds that that's going to pass? And I always think, how irrelevant is that? Because my thought is, until we throw our shoulder into this problem, how do we know what our chances of success will be? How do you know? You don't know. There was a time in Minnesota when there was a person who was a state legislature, and she introduced a bill to say that you could not vote unless you had a government-issued identification card, and you couldn't vote otherwise. And it had to be government-issued, and if you couldn't just bring any old ID, it had to be a government card. And there were people who had never left their farms in rural Minnesota, never drove, and they were going to be excluded, although everybody at the voting post knows them, been knowing them for 30 years, they would be excluded because they didn't have this ID. And there were people, young people who didn't drive, and they didn't have an ID either. And there was people who were veterans serving our nation overseas, and they would be excluded. And when they introduced this bill, they did a public opinion poll. 80% said they would vote for it because most people show IDs all the time. But we said this is wrong because it's going to exclude people from their opportunity to have a voice in who governs them. So we started working on it. And we started talking to people. And even the smart people who agreed with us said, well, the odds are too bad. We're not going to waste any money trying to change that. Because it's just, maybe we'll beat it in the courts. But I'm telling you, March, January, the numbers dropped, and they dropped, and they dropped. And we called, and we called, and we called. And we worked. And before August, we were even. By November, we beat them. This is 80% approval. We won at the ballot. We didn't rely on the courts. We relied on that couple that we talked about, who was wondering, are we going to be able to vote? Is mama going to vote? Because you know she don't drive and she don't have no ID. Is my friend who's at the tribal member of the Ojibwe Nation, Native American, will his tribal ID work? They say no. Right? And but the people use faith. They use faith. They did not calculate the odds. Now, who is the expert in the faith business? I think it's you. I think you're the one. Who in the world would have guessed that Prophet Muhammad, as an orphan, poor child, would ever lead this nation that ended up being the second largest faith in the world? If you looked at him, you wouldn't think so. The story of Jesus in a manger. What's the point of that? This is a very unlikely prophet, right? Or right? This is an unlikely person to lead anything. This person is going to be a carpenter if they're lucky, right? Right?
Yeah.
But faith says, no, God has big plans. And you don't know them, but they're there. And if you all will go to that couple, no matter what day of the week you pray on or you congregate on, and give them the sense that we've got to be generous, and we've got to be faithful, and we've got to defy the odds, and we've got to do what's right, no matter what it costs us, then people like me, politicians, we will listen. I'm going to tell you why. Because politicians see the light when they feel the heat. And when the congregation says to the population, we believe in a just world. We believe that the students ought to be able to go to college. They go to college free in Germany. They're not bigger than us. They're not richer than us. How can they send their kids to school for free and we cannot? How can other countries can take care of their sick and we cannot? How come other countries can take care of their aging and we will not? Even though we're the richest of them all. Well, it's not because we can't. It's a question of will. And so we can will it. But I'm not here to talk about any political party. I don't care nothing about either one of them. I'm telling you, a political party is like a car. You drive it until it doesn't work anymore, then you get out of it. Right? So I'm not here to tell you about some party or some candidate. I want the faith community to tell me this is what we expect of you. This is the moral imperative. You, secular person, live up to it. That's what I'm looking for from you. Now, I think it's fine for religious people to enter into politics, but I like people of faith to say, look, we don't need to be voting on stuff. We need to set a moral standard for the nation and make a prophetic call, and you people have to live up to that call. It works way better that way. I'm telling you that Martin Luther King never held political office. And let me tell you something else. He never called Lyndon Baines Johnson and asked him, say, I need some inspiration. I'm not sure what to do. I don't know what's right and wrong. No, he went to Lyndon Johnson's office and said, it is right and it is just that every American have a voice in their government, and we expect you to make that reality. That is what happened. That is what happened. And so I say to you, with the spirit of love and justice in your heart, convey a message about that, whether you are a writer of religious and theological articles or a pastor, a leader of a congregation. You put that into the world, and the people who you're talking to will take care of the rest. You will inspire those people, and those people will inspire the world, and we will have a civic revolution. We will have a moral revolution in our nation and in our world. You carry a lot of weight. You're a powerful person. And the weight on your shoulders is incredibly important, because the person who's going to hold you to account actually can follow through on what they expect out of you, if you know what I mean. And so I just want to say that may God bless Hartford Seminary. May God bless Hartford Seminary. May God bless your wonderful faculty, your scholars, the administrative personnel. And may God bless you to ever be inspired, to always have something to share with the beleaguered couple out there looking for inspiration and spiritual sustenance and direction.